Here's a question that should bother you more than it does. If a caveman had everything you have right now, Netflix, your phone, your entire feed, would he be happier? Probably not. Because the thing that kept ancient humans engaged had nothing to do with entertainment, and we've been slowly destroying it for the last 100 years without realizing it. Here's what most people assume about ancient humans. Every waking hour was survival. Hunting, foraging, building shelter, no downtime, no space to get bored. That assumption is completely wrong. In 1966, anthropologist Marshall Solins spent years studying the Kung people of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living something close to the original human lifestyle. What he found stopped researchers cold. They worked an average of 15 to 20 hours per week. Not per day, per week. The rest of the time they rested, talked, and sat with nothing in particular to do. Solins called them the original affluent society, not because they had stuff, but because they had time, more free time than most modern humans ever get. So ancient humans weren't too busy to get bored. They had entire afternoons with nothing to fill them. The question is, what happened next? And the answer is not what you would expect. Because ancient humans had nothing to do, they did not shut down. They did not collapse into passive waiting. Their brains did exactly what a human brain does when nobody is telling it what to focus on. It started generating. It started making things up. It started asking questions that had no answers. It started, in other words, being human. Here's where it gets interesting. Archaeologists excavating a cave in South Africa called Blombos Cave found a collection of shells. They were 75,000 years old. Each one had a hole drilled through it and coated in red ochre. These weren't tools, they weren't weapons, they weren't food. They were beads. Someone had sat down 75,000 years ago with nothing better to do and made themselves jewelry. That's the oldest known decorative object in human history, and it didn't start with necessity or genius or inspiration. It started with a free afternoon and nothing else to do. Making those beads would have taken hours. Drilling through a shell with a stone tool, no electricity, no metal, no patience built by a lifetime of entertainment. That is a long afternoon, and they did it anyway, because the alternative was staring at the wall of a cave. Think about what that actually means. These were people who had no guarantee of eating tomorrow, no certainty the tribe would survive winter, and yet they sat down and made something beautiful with no practical value whatsoever. That is not the behavior of a desperate animal. That is the behavior of a mind that needed more than survival, a mind that needed meaning. Necessity didn't invent art, boredom did. The same pattern shows up 35,000 years later. Researchers excavating a cave in southern Germany found a flute carved from a vulture bone, 5 finger holes, 40,000 years old. Someone before agriculture, before cities, before any civilization we would recognize, had a free afternoon and invented music. Not because they had to, because their brain, left alone with nothing to process, started generating its own stimulation. And that stimulation became the oldest song nobody remembers. They didn't need entertainment, they needed creation. And neuroscience explains exactly why. When you make something, anything, your brain releases dopamine. Not the thin hit you get from a notification, a longer, deeper signal that says, you built something, that was real, that mattered. Your brain treats creation differently from consumption, because it is different. One asks nothing of you, the other asks everything, and pays you back in a way scrolling never will. Ancient humans accidentally hacked this, every single day. Now here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Modern entertainment is specifically designed to replace creation with consumption. Every app, every platform, every feed is built to give your brain just enough stimulation to feel busy, but never enough to feel satisfied. That's not a coincidence. It's a business model. The research confirms it. Passive screen time, scrolling, watching, clicking, actively increases boredom over time. People don't feel less restless after an hour on their phone. They feel more, because the brain isn't being used, it's being occupied, and those are two different things. A brain being used is solving something, building something, figuring something out. A brain being occupied is just processing a stream of images fast enough that it can't notice how empty it feels. But people who shifted even 20 minutes of that passive time into something active, writing, drawing, cooking, building, reported significantly higher feelings of meaning and focus afterward. 20 minutes. That's the entire gap. Ancient humans had no choice between passive and active. Everything they did demanded something from them. Every moment had consequence, and their brains were fed exactly what human brains were built to consume: a challenge, a problem to solve, and the quiet satisfaction of seeing something through. So what were they actually doing? Strip away the caves and the mammoth bones, and ancient humans were running three things on repeat. Your brain still runs on the exact same code. Number one, novelty with stakes. Every day brought something genuinely new. New terrain, new weather, new threat. Their brains stayed curious because curiosity kept them alive. Your brain still craves novelty. The difference is swipe-based novelty is so fast and cheap that it satisfies nothing. Slow novelty does. Learning something that might actually break your brain a little, going somewhere unfamiliar, trying something you might genuinely fail at. Number two, social creation. Ancient humans didn't create alone. They painted cave walls in groups. They told stories with the whole tribe listening. The social element wasn't optional, it was the whole point. Creating something with or for other people multiplied the dopamine hit. Your brain still works this way. Making something and sharing it, really sharing it, not posting it, hits completely differently than anything you do alone in a dark room. Number three, physical engagement. Their bodies were always in the loop. They weren't observers of life, they were participants in it. Walking while thinking, using your hands while you talk, building something physical. These activate a level of focus that sitting still in front of a screen never will. The mind and body were never designed to be separated, and every time you separate them, you pay for it in restlessness you can't quite explain. Run any one of these three today, you will feel the difference inside an hour. Here's the part nobody talks about. Modern psychology has a name for the part of your brain that activates when you're doing nothing: the default mode network. It's responsible for creativity, self-reflection, and empathy. It only switches on when you're bored. When you daydream, that network is running. When you have a shower and suddenly solve a problem you've been stuck on for days, that network just did that. When you feel genuine empathy for someone going through something hard, that network is what makes it possible. And it only works in silence. We spent 300,000 years learning to fill silence with something meaningful. Then we filled every silence instead, and that network, the one that makes you creative, self-aware, and human, never gets to run. That's not a small thing. That's the part of you that makes you interesting to yourself, the part that processes who you are, what you want, what actually matters to you. And most people haven't let it run properly in years. Boredom isn't a sign that life is boring, it's a signal. Your brain sending you a message in the only language it has. You are not being used. Ancient humans weren't smarter than you, they weren't tougher, they just had no option to be passive. Every moment required them to show up, and because of that, almost every moment felt like it meant something. You still have that wiring, every single bit of it. The next time you feel that hollow restlessness, don't reach for your phone. That's pouring water on a fire. Make something instead. Anything. A meal, a drawing, a bad song. Walk somewhere new. Use your hands. Your brain will know exactly what to do with that. It's been waiting 200,000 years. Now, we've talked about what happens when the human brain gets too much free time and not enough purpose, but there's an experiment that took this exact idea and pushed it to its absolute limit.
In the 1970s, a scientist named John Calhoun built a perfect world for rats. Unlimited food, unlimited space, zero predators, zero struggle. Every single one of them stopped functioning within 2 generations. Check out this video where we break down exactly what happened inside that experiment and what it tells you about what's quietly happening to us right now.